The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. We want to welcome you to today's webinar, Unlock Endless Possibilities with Chatbots. My name is Danny Smith, and I am the Manager of Events and Marketing at Microexcel, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. During today's presentation, we will discuss how chatbots work, what importance bots play in the way we do business, provide an introduction to the Microsoft Bot Framework and its significance, as well as a demo that showcases the integration of SharePoint Online User Experience, Microsoft Bot Service, Language Understanding Intelligence Service, or LUIS for short, and Azure Database. Our presenter for today is Ms. Nutan Sharma. Nutan is the SharePoint lead at Microexcel with more than 10 years of experience in SharePoint and .NET framework. When not working hard, her favorite pastime is photography. So just a few laundry items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent out in a few days. Also, we will have a Q&A portion at the end, so please type any questions you may have in the questions box and we will get to those in the order they are received. If you have any questions after the webinar, please feel free to contact us at info@microexcel.com. At the conclusion of today's webinar, there will be a brief survey. Please do take a few moments and share your thoughts with us. So without further ado, I'd like to present our speaker for today's event, Ms. Nutan Sharma.
Thank you for the introduction, Danny. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Danny had mentioned, I am Nutan Sharma and I'm going to present today details on bot and how we can use them. All right. So let's start with understanding what exactly a bot is. So chatbots are computer programs that mimics conversations with people using artificial intelligence. They can transform the way you interact with internet from a series of self-initiated tasks to a well-formed conversation. Now today chatbots are being used most commonly in the customer service space, assuming roles which are like traditionally performed by human beings, such as tier 1 support operations or custom satisfaction representatives. Now in a simple scenario, without a chatbot, a user might be directing his browser to weather.com, then type in the zip code to get the forecast. With a bot in picture, a user can send a chat asking for current conditions or a 3-day forecast, and the bot is going to reply with you an answer. The most commonly used bots and we might know about is Siri, Alexa, or Cortana that comes from the giant industries like Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. Now, as we know what exactly a bot is, or let's talk something about why do we need bots, what bots can do for us. So, we know that today's generation is a chat generation. More than being on phone, more than being on talking to somebody in person, people do like to have chats and do their work on chats. So chatbots is something that can help us engage with the chat generation, as they can integrate with various messaging platforms like Skype, Facebook, etc. It's much more easier to reach out more number of people on users. Of course, getting bought into the picture, we can lower down some of the cost on business. Like if you want to provide a tier 1 support, that can be done by bots instead of you having real people around. And it does connect with people faster with the information. If you have lots and lots of data in the back end and instead of providing a huge list of search results, you can create intelligent bots that can clear out the information, filter out what is required, and then present it to the user in a more easier way and what they can understand. So some of the areas or enterprise places where bots can be easily understandable and usable are having normal conversations with like normal chatbots, IT industry where we have so many processes and operations that happens, e-commerce, of course, it's one of the very common thing people have been using these days to order food, to do shopping. Everything is pretty much online. We have healthcare, public safety, travel and hospitality. So these are some of the areas where bots can be really helpful and important, and we can get like vast area of usage. Now, why do we use bots? Like, we have traditional applications already in market which can do all these operations. What significance will bots play? From the time mobiles and the new technology has come into place, we know that apps have taken over all of the interfaces across. So specifically going for, we are using too much of mobile these days. We need everything on mobile, and we can now actually look at the mobile app stores, and they are like difficult to build, distribute and maintain. The marketplaces have become so much crowded. Like for one single operation you might get 30 or 40 or hundreds of apps available, and it's more confusing for people as well, like which one to go with. So bots are something you can deploy at one place, and that will be available for any platform that you want. Let's look at some of the examples of existing bots which are in market. So MedBot, if you're a kind of person that is keen to explore internet for every simple health issues to complicated illness, just like me, it might be worth checking out this bot. This chatbot aims of making medical diagnosis faster, easy, and transparent for both patients and physicians. Similar, there is one more bot which is Roof AI. Now that helps real estate marketers to automate interactions with potential leads and significant information through social media. It identifies the leads through Facebook, then responds with most friendly and helpful manner to the users whoever is looking for it. And it does allow the real estate agents to transform to respond to user queries immediately regarding of whether a customer service representative or sales agent is available to help or not. Similar way, in banking and financial industry, you can have 24 by 7 customer support for the ease of use for the customers, and also provide automated data support to them. So it becomes more easy for customers to communicate with the bot instead of being on phone for like minutes, hours or so, depending on how many people are there. There's one example from UNICEF. it, they use report bot, which basically allows to help people living in developing nations speak out about their urgent needs in their communities. They do a lot of large scale data gathering through polls and then use that feedback to uh, on the basis of potential policy recommendations. So that information helps them do some analysis and provide that in feedback and information. Similar way, Capital One has let me just- Capital One has one assistant, Eno, which is like it acts like your financial assistant. It helps users to manage their money, transactions, and everything. And Advisor, everybody knows about it. It's more like figuring out information about the vacation places. And so they have a bot which is available on Facebook Messenger that you can use. Now let's do a quick poll before we actually start the details on Microsoft Bot Framework. Are you guys aware of Microsoft Bot Framework or services?
Okay, Newton, I will now be closing the poll. And it looks like the results are 30% said yes. I'm sorry, 36% said yes, and 64% responded no.
Okay, so let's get started with understanding some of the details on Microsoft Bot Framework. So Microsoft Bot Framework is one of the many tools Microsoft offers to build a complete bot. There are more options as well. So it provides just exactly what you need to build and connect the intelligent bots that can interact naturally. It allows you to enable bots in various languages and host in multiple places and make it available on various channels like Skype, Facebook, Skype for Business, or any of your external websites, etc. The components of Bot Framework is, the SDK for .NET, for Node.js, whatever you prefer to use. There is a emulator tool that you can use for testing, and of course, Azure is by default available for hosting your bots if you want to go for the default options. So there are URLs which you can actually refer to if you want to start creating bots or to understand the documentation around bots. dev.botframework.com is the place you can refer, and it has the documentation URL as well. Now let's look at the channels. What exactly is a channel? In Microsoft Bot Framework, once you start building it, you have an option to connected to various channels. Of course, by means of channels, we understand that when Skype, when Facebook Messenger, it's a medium of communication. So we can say a channel is the connection between the bot framework and the communication apps. So there are a lot of uh, channels that Microsoft Bot Framework supports. So from which the default one or the basic one that you use to test would be a web chat, or for website integration, it would be a direct channel. Microsoft Bot Framework does provide default templates that you can use. You can see over here, there are 5 different templates that you can use in either in .NET side or in Node.js. So let's start understanding what exactly each template is about. Basic bot, it's to create a bot that uses dialogues to respond to user inputs. You can use this basic bot. It's one of the bot template which has like minimum set of files to start with. And when you start creating this bot, you're gonna just see the functionality where the bot just echoes back to the user whatever the user is typing in. Then we have forms bot. Now, if you really want to collect some information from user with a guided conversation, you can choose this. So it is created to collect a specific set of information from the user. Like, for example, if you really want to have a sandwich order system in place for a user, you can have a designated set of options to be available to the user, and user can just directly go and select them. Now, you can create pods in the form templates with the using form flow and Node.js as well. Next is the language understanding bot. So create a bot that uses natural language models to understand users' intent. We can choose this template. It basically leverages on the LUI services from Microsoft, which is language intelligence, to understand what exactly a user types in and then convert that into a logical and understanding way and return the results to the user depending on what user is asking. So for example, if a user sends a message such as get news about virtual reality companies, your bot can use LUIS to interpret the meaning of this message and return the results based on what from wherever it has to fetch the data. Now LUIs are application. We will see the details later in the presentation. We have question and answers bot. To create a bot that distills semi-structured data, like you have pair of question and answer, you can go with this template. It probably will have a question and then some possible set of answers to the same, and it's going to pass that information to the user. For that also you have to you know register to the service of Q&A, and there is a sub template that is provided, and you can fill in on the information and connect to your bot. Then we have something called as proactive bot. Now to create a bot that can send proactive messages, you can use this template. So this Bot is going to send messages to the user directly through the user's prior input. So it's not something that real-time information. For example, if you want to set a reminder for something, or if you want to set an alarm, you can use this template as one of the example, which probably will remind you when the time comes. So if I set an alarm of like 12 p.m., it's going to remind me exactly at 12 p.m. So that's one of the useful type of template that we can use. Let's start with some of the basic steps uh, to create a bot in Azure. You have to log into Azure portal, select the AI plus cognitive services web app bot template, and then you can write your logic, build, and test. Let's just go through that UI real quick. Yeah. So right now I'm logged into portal.azure.com and I have some of the bots being already created. But if you really want to create one, you can just go to create a resource, choose AI plus cognitive services, and go for web app bot. So once you select that, you can see, there is a form which needs some of the inputs from you, like bot name, subscription, and information about what exactly you want to name, the resource and everything. And there is an option for bot template. So if you choose this, you can see all the options we just went through, from options of C# and Node.js. So the same kind of templates are available in both the versions. You can create that as you need. Let's go back to the presentation. Now, when you actually say, when you're done with your bot, or when you are actually starting to code the bot, you have various options you can go with. The first option is to actually use the online code editor, which is very much quick, and you can directly code into the online editor itself, and your changes will be automatically reflected. The second option is you can download the source code and do your coding locally. So it does allow you to download the entire source code to the local system. You can work on it, choose the IDE whichever you want to use, and then once you are done, you can publish your changes back to Azure. The last option we have is continuous deployment. So continuous deployment allows you to develop your bots locally. Continuous deployment is useful if your bot is checked in into a source control, something like GitHub or a Visual Studio Team service. So as soon as you check in your changes back into your source repository, your changes will be automatically deployed to Azure. That's how it works. Deployment and testing. So as we heard the name, Bot Framework Emulator, it's a desktop application that allows bot developers to test and debug their bot either locally or remotely. So using the emulator, you can chat with your bots and inspect the messages that your bot sends and receive them. So it's probably going to appear, you can see over here in the UI that when you use emulator, you can, if you're running your bot locally, you can directly put the URL in and you can say connect, and it's going to show up all the messages in the details section of the emulator tool. If you are having a bot which is deployed across network or firewall boundary, you need to have a tool to be interacting with emulator, which is ngrok. So that helps you test any of your bots which are not available locally on your laptop or computer. But for that, you need Microsoft App ID and password to connect to your bot. These are the two keys that get generated when you create a bot in Azure, or you can define them in your project. So easiest way of interaction with websites where you can actually integrate your chatbot is to use the web chat URL with providing your bot ID and your secret key. So you can set up an iframe and use the secret key to connect to your bot. Let's start something about Teams App Studio, which Microsoft introduced some time back. So we can say that Microsoft Teams is a chat-based workspace in Office 365 that integrates with the apps and provides user to work together. So Teams App Studio was provided by Microsoft to simplify and streamline the process of creating these apps. So there are certain steps that are provided in Node.js which are a little bit hectic if you really want to create an app, but Teams App Studio does makes it more cleaner way and easier way to do that. Let's look at the preview app and then we can discuss all the key features around it. So this is a Teams app preview. You can download it from the App Store in Teams. So once you add it, you can actually see the UI over here. It has various paths around it. So the first screen that you might see is a conversation. This is where you can actually see whatever cards that you create in App Studio. We'll probably look into that as well. Now, this is just a screen that you can use. The most important part of the Teams App Studio is the manifest editor. So for this manifest editor allows you to create an app that you can use and distribute across in Team Studio. So you can see over here I created like one app which is already available. So it's probably gonna ask you information like what is the who's the developer, what is the app name, some more details around. Every app has an ID that it's going to ask, and then package information around some descriptions, URLs, etc. So this is the main information about your app when you start creating it. Then we have the capabilities section. So here you can set up tabs like we can see over here. We can set up team tabs and personal tabs. So Teams tab of course will be available to everyone in the team when you have channels created in the team, and personal tab is for the one-to-one experience. Similar way, you can also connect any existing bots of your choice on this. So I created this one. So to have a bot framework ID, which would be your Microsoft app ID that you're going to use. And you can set the scope to personal or team depending on the requirements. And you can also add commands to your bots. So for example, if your bot is something that actually search some information and return some results, you can set the commands, or you can set up some commands for some operations. You can have connectors and messaging extensions on your app, which probably, for example, connectors would be like you can have an Office 365 connector, which might connect to third party places like Twitter or Facebook, and that these messaging extensions and connectors help you connect to such outside platforms and build the team activities and whatever has been any action that has been taken place on Twitter or any place otherwise, the results will be returned and it will be updated on the teams. So messaging extensions of course is a very useful thing where you can actually get the results out of your bot and you can return the results in the teams channel and as a conversation. And finally you can test the application by distributing it or by exporting it. So once you export it, it creates a zip file which basically has the manifest information, and you can use it as an app. So you can easily deploy your app. You can go to the store and you can say upload a custom app, and it's probably going to ask you for the zip file that you just downloaded. So it can help you create that. So that's where Microsoft Teams app preview is very much helpful in creating uh, apps for your Teams, Microsoft Teams, and then you can connect your bots and pass on commands to them as well. Now let's look a little bit on LUIS, which is again one intelligent service tool which is helpful in creating bots. Now LUIS allows your applications to understand what a person wants in their own words. It doesn't have to be a machine language, it doesn't have to be technical. Whatever a user wants to say, they can easily understand, and LUIS will pass that information. It allows developer to build such kind of applications that can receive user inputs in natural language and then extract the meaning out of it. Well, a client application that converses with the user can pass user input to a LUIS app and relevant information and provide the detailed information back to it. So for example, a model start with a list of general user intentions. Like if your user wants to create a ticket or a contact, or he wants to contact help desk. So these are certain intentions from a user, which LUIS can parse and then provide information. So the key concepts for LUIS application is intents, utterances, and entities. Intents, as we understood, is uh, creating a ticket or contacting help desk. Then utterances would be something that app would understand, based on user's text. Like for example, you can see on the screen, I want to fly to Venus, Italy from Paris, France on January 31st. Now that's kind of a request that can come from the user. It's not really a command or it's not really a machine language. But LUIS does help us in parsing that information, though we have to train the application to understand all these things, but it is more user friendly. So, LUIS is probably going to pass it as I want to fly to, from source city to destination city and on which date, and, maybe provide results based on that. So benefits of using LUIS applications are, it provides natural languages to your application. It's it's not something very much technical or predefined set of data that a user has to go through. You can also build custom language solutions on this. So for every language that you have or you want your applications or bots to support, you can actually create one LUS application and then use that. It is enterprise ready, available worldwide. So when you actually create a LUS application, you can actually publish it, and the URL that you get, you can use it in any of your applications to query the information. And as these LUS applications are learning and improving, you can actually train them with any new stuff that you add in. You train them, you can test them, and then you can easily integrate them. So if you really like, we talk about language integration. So if there is any language that LUIS doesn't support, you can actually go with Microsoft's translation APIs that can actually do the translation and receive the results. Let's go through a small demo on the integration of Azure Database LUIS framework and the online experience. So we have this SharePoint online site that we have used to integrate the bot. It's like an assistance bot which can be used by an employee to create a ticket, to log in for leave, or to provide expense claim details, or even for searching some information in Azure database, maybe like a knowledge article or something. So as soon as I initiate the bot, it gets initialized and welcomes the user. So I can type in anything like, I can simply say hi, because it's not like a menu driven kind of thing. It's understanding the LUS, the language a user inputs. So now it knows by my name, and so what can I help you with? So right now maybe I don't know what exactly this bot can do. I can just say help me. It's going to provide me with all the information what the bot can do, and can just follow up with that. So for example, if I want to go for a ticket agent, maybe I want to create a ticket and help desk. It's going to ask me what information I need to put in. So I can say laptop is not working. Then probably some description. And then it asks me what exactly is the category, where exactly you want to log in the ticket. It's variety, priority, and then it's gonna take this information and create a ticket. So we have integrated SharePoint over here. So it's gonna create uh, entry in the SharePoint list, and I can actually view this through this card information. So see, it has created a ticket out of it. Now when I say, the flow of bot is really important, so I can say, yes, I want to continue. It's going to ask me again what exactly you want to choose from the options that you have had. So for example, if I say FAQ, I want to search something, I want to create a SharePoint list, but I don't know. Maybe I can just simply say create list in SharePoint. Or I could say, I want to create a list in SharePoint. How do I create a list in SharePoint? So there are multiple ways you can ask a question, and LUIS does help you understand exactly, the intention of a user based on whatever they are typing in. So we have a backend Azure database where we have some knowledge repository set. So it's going to actually filter out the information based on the keys that I have provided, like list and SharePoint. So it returned me a carousel of results. So that's the way you can actually, this is the simplest way you can have a bot. You can enhance it more. You can put a lot of more things into it. And you can also integrate the same bot running into Microsoft Teams using the apps concept. So let's have a look. I have this bot configured over here. So you can see the bot is over here. I mean, I can do a conversation with the bot and from Microsoft Teams as well. This does allow us one good thing, that the bots are available. The same bot is available in SharePoint, in Teams. Also, I can integrate the same bot with Skype for Business. And as these apps are available online and on mobile, I can easily access from anywhere. I don't have to be always going on browser and typing in for the information. So that's how these bots are really helpful. Let's have a quick question about around this after we have been through the details around bots.
Okay, Newton, I'll now be closing the poll. And it looks like we had 44 respond back with yes, 0% at no, and 56% are currently in the planning phase.
Oh, that sounds nice. All right. Let's have a quick summary of what we have been through. So Microsoft Bot Framework enables, provides us a lot of exposure in how do we create bots and functionalities of creating them in several languages, hosting them in multiple places, and appearing them in various channels. So that's a vast area of availability that we get with Microsoft Bot Framework. Of course, cognitive services bring a lot of power to the framework by language understanding, which is more user friendly. Now, as we already discussed, messaging has become a dominate for communication. So chatbots, yes, they do help us in getting that achieved. And of course, it's a significant saving of money, time, efficiency, and user connections. So let's have some Q&A.
Thank you, Newton. It looks like we have had a question come through during your presentation. The first question is, can we deploy Chatbot anywhere else apart from using Azure?
Yes, you can do that. There are various options. You can do that on AWS. You can use local IaaS hosted websites. You can really do that apart from Azure. So that's possible.
Thank you, Newton. The next question is, Isn't the hosting of bots in the cloud a risk? Because if you want to later, after some year of training the bot, move your knowledge, is it knowledge, it is nearly impossible to save or transfer the knowledge. Or in other words, do you know a way to store the intents and Q&A in an SQL database?
Personally, I haven't looked at that part. We know that it's more on cloud right now. There are certain apps that are there. I understand that Microsoft has provided, database options for maintaining your states for bots. But I think probably have to look more into details. Thinking about the risk of security and all, I think the way bots work, the internal framework is pretty much secure, and every request is authenticated before you actually, uh, you know, do that interactions and everything. Again, it depends on how you really want to authenticate and secure it more. So, if you really need more information, maybe we can look over it and provide you.
Thank you, Nutan. The next question is, do you anticipate bot integration with SharePoint in the same way that Microsoft Flow and Microsoft Power Apps have been?
Um, I still have to look into that area, though I know Power Apps and Microsoft Forms Flow can be integrated with SharePoint, but still I have to do some more research on that. So I'll be surely doing that as well.
Thank you. The next question is, the SharePoint bot you have shown, can it read from REST API?
Yes, so right now what we have done is it's more about using clients, SharePoint's client API, the Seesaw models internally. But yes, we can make it work with REST API as well.
Great, thank you. The next question is there a way to have LUIS learn from actual user entered data, or do you have to train it on your own?
Well, LUS applications are somewhere where you have to actually put in the intents and then provide maybe what possible entities or information a user might ask. But yes, you can pass on the information from users' conversation as well. It doesn't have to be specifically provided from application.
Okay, and our next question is, can you apply artificial intelligence to bots beyond LUIS?
Yes, you can do that. There are a lot of services that you can actually do with bots. It's more like you can integrate vision, speech, knowledge, search. The, there are a lot of APIs that are available in Microsoft framework that you can use.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nutan. As there are no more questions, this does conclude today's webinar. A recording of this will be sent to all participants. You will each be receiving our survey as well. Please do take a few moments and provide your feedback on today's webinar. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please contact us at info@microexcel.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.